Hi guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. Do you believe Gypsy Rose Blanchard is sending a dark and tragic message to our youth? One of the reasons I'm so deeply invested in covering the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case is because I fear that the act of unaliving one's own parent may be seen as a viable solution to dealing with troublesome family members and or as a means to obtain wealth to our youth today. It may sound utterly absurd, but unfortunately, that is a concern that plagues my mind in today's society. Thanks, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Tonight, let's explore the chilling story of Carly Gregg. At just 14 years old, Carly ended her mother's life and attempted to do the same to her stepfather. However, her stepfather managed to thwart her deadly plan through, well, I guess just by surviving. And so join me as we delve into the dark and twisted world of Carly Gregg and Gypsy Rose Blanchard on tonight's episode of Parawomen Radio. The shocking truth behind these heinous acts will might keep you up at night, especially if you have children. And I hate to say that, I truly do. I mean, we should feel safe in our own home. Our home should be our safe haven from the outside world, not from what's inside of it. While we wait for the rest of the power crew to arrive, I'm going to roll some credits. Special shout out to my replay crew and my dragonflies. I've missed you guys so much. Having a migraine, I decided is for the birds, but then I thought, why do we say it's for the birds? It's more like for the mosquitoes. So having a migraine is for the mosquitoes.
I'm having bad thought after bad thought after bad thought today. Everything is falling down on top of me. I wanna lie here on this cold hard ground and cry for a while. And I really don't care who sees me at this point in time.
Back with my power crew on Wednesday night. How's everyone doing? Tonight we're coming to you on Facebook, on YouTube, and I decided to throw us over to Instagram. So hi, Instagram. I just said hi to you over on Instagram. I said hi to you over on Facebook. I typically hang out over on YouTube because that's what's pulled up on my screen. But I will try to remember to pop over and say hi to all of you here and there. I'm trying to do better. I'm actually looking for people that want to hang out over on Facebook and over on Instagram as moderators for me. So if you're on either one of those platforms and that interests you, I would love to talk to you about that. And you can email me at parawomenradio@gmail.com. Before I get going, I want to say a huge thank you to Laura Lynn. Thank you for the super sticker. And thank you for supporting me. When I saw that, you guys have so many excellent true crime people out there that you could support and that I know you do support. So including me in that list makes me feel truly honored. And so thank you so much. And I missed you guys so much. I suffer from migraines, and boy, I had a doozy of them this last week. This new case. Well, it's not really new. It happened back in March, but her name is Carly Gregg. They like to dress her up and put her out in front of the camera as a schoolgirl, which she basically is. She's 14 years old. She might be 15 now. It happened in March, so I don't know. That's just a few months ago. So I think she's 14 or 15. And yeah, she looks like she's about 10. So let me get my screen together and we'll get right into this. Also, let's start that algorithm dance party where you just start warming up your finger and dancing it right up to the hearts and thumbs up button. Helps me dance out in the algorithm party out there, bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help my channel out, and it's really, really appreciated. And if you like my content, be sure to subscribe. Like I said, today we're on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, but we're also over on TikTok and X and all of those places. But these are the three platforms that I'm really trying to focus on: Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So here we go. So I like to do a little mix of blending reading and watching video. And like I said, everything that we view during this live, I will put down in the description over on YouTube. I usually stop and start things, or I read or I talk over it, or I don't read everything in its entirety. This is for fair play use. And but don't worry, I cite all my sources, and you can find them down in the description on YouTube. So People Magazine says, ever seen a DEAD body? 14-year-old, and we also have to do little word games that we play over on YouTube because my video will get demonetized if I don't say certain things. I know it can get annoying, but it is what it is. Ever seen a DEAD body? 14-year-old allegedly invited friend to see mom's corpse after unaliving her, police said. Carly Gregg, 14, was arrested in March in connection with the unaliving of her mother and the shooting of her stepfather, per authorities. So that's the mother. A teenager accused of fatally shooting her mother before attempting to do the same to her stepfather allegedly invited a friend over to view her mother's body, authorities say. Carly Gregg, 14, was arrested in March in connection with the shooting, unaliving of her mother and the non-fatal pew-pewing of her stepfather in their Mississippi home. Authorities said at the time the suspect was arrested on charges of murder and attempted murder, per police. The outlets reported at the time she had pleaded not guilty to the charges and is being tried as an adult. And we're going to go through kind of all of this. We're going to touch base on the various proceedings that she's had. Do we think it's right that she's being charged as an adult, etc.? In a hearing recorded and released by the blog Jackson Jambalaya on Tuesday, investigators spoke about the suspect's seemingly nonchalant behavior after allegedly shooting her mother, as captured in home security cameras. The footage from the cameras show the minutes leading up to the unaliving. The suspect and her mother returned home, and after some time, the suspect is seen going into her mother's bedroom. Rankin County investigator Zachary Colton said at the hearing. Then you hear a gunshot, a scream, followed by two more pew-pews, Colton said. One video shows the suspect returning to the kitchen where she is seen texting from a phone. Colton said, adding that their later investigation found the teen was allegedly messaging her stepfather asking when he would be home. In between the time she allegedly pew-pewed her mother and her stepfather, the suspect is seen allegedly singing to her dog, Cotton said. At one point, the suspect asked a friend to come over, saying it was an emergency, per Cotton. I think I was saying Colton, but I think it's Cotton. After the friend was driven over to the residence by her father, the suspect asked the friend if she had ever seen an unalived body before, the investigator alleged at the hearing. When the friend said no, the suspect proceeded to show her deceased mother, Cotton claimed, further alleging that the suspect also showed her friend the weapon, also told her she had fired 3 shots each at her mother and stepfather. The stepfather told investigators that the suspect was armed and pew-pewed him in the shoulder upon his return home. Police say, according to the Clarion Ledger, the man claimed he was able to fight the pew-pew away from her before she fled the scene across the backyard, the outlet reported, citing police. She was captured a short time later near the house, per WLBT. Smiley was identified as a math teacher at Northwest Rankin High School, where the suspect attended school. In obituaries, Smythe was honored as a gift in mathematics, technology, and the arts. So that is an overview to the case. And when I read it just, I thought, is this, because I had heard of another, my mods, huge thank you to Chris C and Heavenly for modding for me. They're the best moderators, and I bounce a lot of my stuff off of them. And they both, I think they each sent me, or maybe it was just Chris C, but somebody sent me more video and of other teenagers doing this. So is this like, to me, in my mind, is this something that's going to happen? Because if it's just Gypsy Rose just did it and has just been out in January, and already I think I've like heard and seen of 3 more cases. What do you guys think? Do you think this is going to be a common occurrence? Do you think, does this worry you, or is this just because sometimes I worry? I'm a worrier, and I am actually trying to break out of that habit. And like, is this just something that I'm worrying about needlessly, or is this something that you guys worry about, or maybe now will concern you? I seem to do this to Shannon a lot too. I'm like, does it concern you? And she'll be like, no, Amy, it didn't. It didn't, but now it does. So I just, is this something that is worrying and concerning to any of you? You're a huge worrier. Yeah, I just want to break out of that cycle. Yes, before the Carly case, I worried. Okay. So this is a viable worry. When I was having my migraines also increased my anxiety. And so I had to have an emergency therapy session today. And she was like, we had to like go through, is this a viable worry? Because like, I get these worries where I feel like they're premonitions, and I have to be like, is this a viable premonition? Like, is there something really happening, or is this because I'm having migraines? And then she posed this thought to me as like, are the migraines happening because of the premonition, or is the premonition feeling happening because of the migraines? I don't know. I guess we'll find out if something happens, right? But that's the thing about not knowing what's about to happen, is like, what's the point of at least having some kind of knowing something's going to happen when you don't even know what it is? Like, you're just out there like with chicken running around like the sky's going to fall down, but I don't know how or why or the reason, or is it my migraine? I don't know, but I'm just trying to like, okay, so this is a viable reason to be worried. Okay. When you're a worrywart and you're trying to break out of being a worrywart and you start worrying, it's like eating. You have to like eat to live, but do you have to worry to live? No, you don't have to worry to live, but you have to listen to your gut to live. And that can lead to worry, right? Woo! I have been out of the loop, not talking to people for too long. You can tell I've been talking to myself for a few days. Gypsy, I thought I heard it all about her. Yeah. And I thought we'd also, because I've been out of the Gypsy Rose loop too, I thought we'd get into a little bit about what's going on with Gypsy Rose too, because honestly, I don't even know. what's happening in her world. I don't think too much is going on, is it? Because I feel like I would have maybe heard a little bit more. But let's get into it. So we're going to watch a little Vinnie Politan. We have Vinnie and we have Christina Randall and a few other creators that are covering this case that I thought we would pop in and look at, and then we'll go over to TikTok. So here we go. Make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. You are.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a 15-year-old girl named Carly Gregg, who, when she was 14 years old, did something that will define the rest of her life. It wasn't something...
Really quick, is anyone else having any problems with YouTube today? Because I'm getting messages. My mods are having problems getting their messages to go through. So if you think you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. I think we're having problems seeing messages. But, you know, I do see that there's some people over on Instagram and there are some people over on Facebook. So if you want to go over there and chat for a little bit. Well, no, there's not really anybody saying too much over on Facebook, but I do see some people over on Instagram. So yeah. But I just don't want you to think you're being ignored, because you're not.
That was expected. It wasn't something that was necessarily predictable, but it was something that was deadly. Here's her story. 14-year-old Carly Gregg was a really good student. In fact, she was Student of the Year at Northwest Rankin High School in Brandon, Mississippi. Carly's mom, Ashley Smiley, was a teacher at the school. For most moms, this would be an ideal situation, being close to your child who is excelling in school. But inside their home and inside the mind of Carly Gregg, everything wasn't okay. She was battling serious issues that seemingly manifested themselves one day inside the home. Carly allegedly went to her mother's bedroom armed with a gun. She discharged that weapon 3 times, taking the life of...
I actually do. Thank you for asking. I usually have a little banner that goes across the bottom of the screen, but yes, we have Cashapp. We have, what do we have? We have Cashapp, we have PayPal, Parawomenradio, and for PayPal, it's parawomenradio@gmail.com. We also are monetized on YouTube for super stickers and over on Facebook for coffee. I don't know if there's anything over on Instagram. I'm just getting reacquainted with Instagram. Serena Matthews, the person that I play a lot of her music, she was telling me that she hangs out over on Instagram Threads quite a bit and that she really likes it. And it reminded her of the old MySpace days. Yeah, where it was just one page. And I like that idea of like where you don't have to go all over the place, where it's just on one page. So I'm giving Instagram Threads another shot. So yeah, but we have all of that. Thank you for asking.
Of her mother. Then, in a bizarre twist, she allegedly contacted a friend to see if she wanted to see a dead body. Her friend came over. Then, when her stepfather returned home, she fired the gun again, wounding him. He survived and described Carly as having eyes so big, it was as if she'd seen a demon.
Look how old she looks. I mean, she's just a baby. Well, she is just a baby. She's just a baby. Oh.
It is something to see her inside of the courtroom. She's 15, looks even younger than 15, but you think about these allegations. And the one miraculous part of this...
I think they're doing her a real service, and a real service by dressing her up as a schoolgirl, because it makes her look like what I just said. She just looks like a baby.
Story is that her stepfather survived to tell the story and survived to call 911 to begin this entire case and this investigation. I want you to take a listen to some testimony from investigator Zachary Cotton here, talking about the stepfather and what he did. Let's take a listen.
I love that.
Our dispatcher received it.
You just said that, because I was actually thinking, like, what good is coming from, I was trying to, because I was thinking today, like, what new is happening in the Gypsy Rose case? And it's like getting to the point where, I've got to start covering more cases, bringing more things into the Gypsy Rose case to even justify covering it. Because what's the point at this? I'm not going to talk about, like I've said this before, about what she's wearing or her makeup. I'm not going to do that because she doesn't deserve that influencer status. But yes, and that's the good. She's bringing people together that want to help other people and shed light on. Yes, thank you for saying that. I love that.
We call the person on the phone frantic. The exact details are not clear, but it's something to the fact that their child has shot at them and shot them in the neck. Deputies responded to the scene, were met with a male at the door, and found a deceased female inside one of the bedrooms.
What did he think his officers heard about that?
He was upset. He had been shot in the shoulder, and he had said that his stepdaughter was the one that had the firearm, that he got the firearm away from her.
And was at that time, did he identify as you?
Yes.
What's the person's name as you?
Carly Gregg.
Was Miss Gregg on the scene that time?
No, sir, not the residents.
What was the next thing that happened?
Deputies were attempting, and law enforcement in general were trying to observe the area to see if they could locate the suspect Carly. She was later found approximately half a mile down the road and taken into custody.
Chaotic situation. Really chaotic. And again, amazing that the stepfather survived this, can make that call so investigators can respond, police can respond, EMT can respond. But it leaves me with my first question about inside of that home. And it's a big question. It's an important question. What happened? My goodness, what happened inside of that house? I want to bring in my special guest who knows a lot about what happened. Mississippi blogger known as Jackson Jambalaya, who's been following the case since day one. James Hendricks is with us. All right, James, thanks so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Let me start with that question about what happened here.
Thank you.
Take us back, because you've been to all the hearings. You've been covering this in depth. Inside the home that day, take us, what's happening before the gun is first fired?
Well, the investigator testified at her preliminary hearing that they came home from school. Daughter takes out the dogs, and the mother went to her daughter's bedroom and removed some objects. Now, I've heard different things of what those could be: her cell phone, a vape pen, whatever, who knows. So, but she removed some objects. Daughter comes in, Carly does, and sees her mom removing with these objects in her hand. She goes into her mom's room, retrieves a firearm, think it was a .38 pistol and revolver, and comes back and shoots her 3 times, 2 in the face, 1 in the chin. And then she texts her father, as you know, and says, "Hey, when are you coming home?" And then she calls a friend of hers, "Hey, I need you to come over here." And so her friend, oddly enough, was not old enough to drive, so her father brought her over. Her father stays in the car. Her friend comes in, and she just nonchalantly shows off her mother's corpse to her friend. Like, look what I've done.
Is there any known history, or do it seems very all of a sudden, right? But was there tension in the home? Were there issues? Were there other calls? Anything like that that's become
not that I know of. The police had not been out to their house before. She was, by all accounts, a good student at school. I mean, she had her friends. She was being a teenager. Very, very smart, obviously. 30 on the ACT when she was 13 years old, skipped a grade. Mother was a very popular math teacher at Northwest Rankin. So this, I mean, we don't know what was going on behind closed doors, but this caught everybody by surprise. Of course, after she's murdered, then we start finding out, okay, she's been on these psychiatric drugs.
I think it is really strange that the friend came over and then like just left and didn't say anything. That's a little weird.
According to her defense lawyers, for quite some time, they switched her to left Andres before the murder took place. So, you know, right now we're just speculating.
And how about the family situation? Now it's a stepfather, right? So mom got remarried. Is her father in the picture at all? Have we heard anything about that?
From what I can tell, from what I can tell, he's not involved in the picture. In fact, I looked at the court records in another county last week where they divorced, and the mother and father are still slugging it out in court. She had filed some motion to modify whatever. I forget what the pleading was or judgment was, but she files a motion all the way up until her death. They were still fighting it out in court.
Meaner Demons, are you talking about Carly or Gypsy living close to you? Are you in Mississippi?
And then apparently she had filed a case against him in justice court. That's your misdemeanors, your small claims courts in Mississippi. And so she filed something over there in Warren County, which is Vicksburg. And so there was stuff going on there. I just haven't had a chance to get over there and dig up the records and look at them. But there was obviously the two parents did not get along.
Now,
So,
how is this playing? Yeah, how is this playing locally? My guess is a relatively small town, small community. The mom worked in the high school where the daughter went, right?
Right. Well, it's in Flowood, Mississippi. Flowood is a suburb of Jackson, Mississippi. It's fairly upscale town of about 12,000 people, but it's not what you would call a typical small town. Just consider Arlington to Dallas. You see what I mean? So, but it blew everybody away. I mean, Jackson is next door, and it's had the highest murder rate in the country for like the last 2 or 3 years. And so you're always hearing about murders and homicides, and unfortunately, too many of them are teens committing murders. And I'm talking 13, 14, 15. But so when you hear about it in a poverty-stricken area, okay, let's be honest. Everybody kind of has gotten to where they're used to hearing it all the time. They don't get as outraged. But when you hear about something like this, a kid so gifted, a mother who's a popular teacher, and then all of a sudden the kid just snaps and just kills her. It didn't just kill her. She's showing her off to her friends, and then she's going to lay in wait to kill her stepfather too. Wow. And my theory on that, why it didn't work, is because she's using a 38. That's probably a 12-pound trigger pull, which, as you know, is a lot. That's pretty strong. And a small girl like that probably was going to have problems with it. Thank goodness for the stepfather.
Yeah, he was able to wrestle it away. I want to take a listen to more testimony from investigator Zachary Cotton here, talking about what the surveillance cameras apparently caught.
There's an exterior camera. It's in the garage. Shows the Carly and her mother actually right home. There's another camera that's located in the kitchen. The kitchen camera shows that after they walk into the residence, that at some point Ashley goes into Carly's bedroom. Carly goes outside with the dogs. Eventually, Carly comes back in after Ashley's taken some items out of Carly's room. Carly walks back in, notices her mother is in the bedroom, and then proceeds to walk in the direction where Ashley and Dean's bedroom is. You see her come back into view of the camera. She has her hands concealed behind her back, out of view of the camera. She looks in the kitchen and then proceeds to walk into her bedroom, and then you hear a gunshot, a scream, followed by 2 more gunshots. Carly proceeds to return to the kitchen, concealing her hands behind her back. You hear a heavy object being set down on the counter, and then she proceeds to get Ashley's phone and begins texting on it. You know who she was texting? I believe it was Heath, based off the text messages that he received.
The text message that appeared that she was the first day her dead mother.
Yes.
What was the substance of those texts?
Essentially asking about how long it would be till he got home.
So, James, it sounds to me like she's using her mother's cell phone to lure her stepfather home, impersonating her.
They said she went into the bedroom and grabbed the gun. So, I mean, she must have known how to, if she didn't have, I mean, she must have known where the key was, or I don't know. I don't know. Like growing up, we always had unlocked guns in my house too, which is, and my stepdad was an ex-police officer, which recipe for disaster. You would think that homes wouldn't do it, but it still happens.
Right.
Via text message?
Correct. That's exactly what she did. She got her mother's cell phone, and so he sees the call coming through. He thinks it's his wife. Or the text coming through. When you coming home, I'm going to be home then. And then she prepares or tries to kill him.
Wow.
And then of course what I can't get over is having the friend come over to just show her off like he got a trophy or something. Who does that? That's pretty warped when you think about it.
That is extremely
I'm trying to figure out the appropriate words because she's so young, smart though.
I for some reason thought you were already a Mumberjatica, but welcome to the Dragonflies.
But at the same time, that is cold. That is sociopathic, I think, is the best way to describe that behavior. Inserting your friend in the middle of all of this. All right, here's what we're going to do. James, you're going to stay with us because we need him. He knows this story better than anyone. Coming up next, why did she show her friend?
Carly asked her to go over. She showed her. She just said it's in her heart. It's kind of you to come over.
Carly Gregg, after allegedly shooting and killing her mother, like 3 shots, then contacts her friend and says, there's an emergency, come over.
I just want to watch this and get the basics, and then we can move on. There's a psychologist I want to look at, and like I said, I want to see what Christina Randall has to say about it, because she's got something funny to say, and this is just kind of getting a basic overview of the case.
Her friend's father apparently drives her over to the house. So now you've got 14-year-old Carly Gregg with her friend from school, apparently, in the house with her mother's body on the ground, shot and killed, shot 3 times. Here's the investigator describing what takes place next inside that house with these 2 children.
She essentially stated that she was invited over to the residence by Carly, was unsure what for. That she had walked in. Carly asked her if she had ever seen a dead body before. She said no. Proceeded to show her deceased mother that was in the bedroom. Showed the gun that she used to shoot her mom. Told that she had 3 shots for her mom, and then she's got 3 more for her stepdad, 2 to the head, 1 to the chest.
I didn't know you were from the Detroit area. That's where I grew up. I grew up Royal Oak, Detroit area, Metro Detroit area.
Have you ever seen a dead body before? And then proceeds to show her friend a dead body, her mother's body on the ground. Brings me to my next question in this case. Why did she show her friend? What's going on there? What motivated that action by Carly Gregg? Still with me, James Hendricks, and joining us, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and author and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I'll begin with you. Why call your friend to come over? And then why show her the dead body?
Good question, Vinny. One thing that it makes me think of is that she has apparently, some of her friends said that she has been talking about for quite a while that she wanted to kill her mother. And nobody really took it seriously, presumably because, she was such a good student and so on. It didn't seem like someone who would shoot their mother. But so perhaps one reason was to show them that, yes, see, I was really serious. Nobody believed me, but look, I did shoot her. And so then the question is, well, why did she shoot her? And there are I have a number of theories for that. One is that her mother.
Well, before we get into the shooting, Dr. Carol,
sure.
I want to get a few more details from James about this friend coming over. Do we know anything about the nature of their relationship, their history? These 2 I presume they're classmates.
How do you think Gypsy Rose feels about herself being compared to people like the likes of Carly Gregg? What in your mind's eye do you hear Gypsy Rose saying? I hear her saying that she's not the one that formed the K. So, like all those stupid comments she makes.
Classmates, the police have been very tight-lipped about it. They just said, she calls the friend, come on over here. Father takes her over there. Father don't know how long she was inside the house. And so eventually she leaves before the stepfather gets home. Now, the father and the daughter did go to the sheriff's office that night and make a statement. Do I know? They never said if it happened immediately or if it was after they heard about the murder or what. So we just don't know. I mean, you're asking why she showed her friend. That's one of several $1 million questions in this case. Believe me.
Absolutely. I want to put up on the screen for you. Everybody's wondering. Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want to put this up. This is from the affidavit for a search warrant. And the names has been redacted. But the friend stated that when she had arrived at Carly's residence, that Carly had already killed her mother. The friend stated that Carly asked if she wanted to wait outside and that her stepdad, Heath Smiley, was about to be home. The friend stated that she waited outside a short time after Heath returned home. She heard 3 gunshots. The friend stated that Carly ran out of the door into the backyard and they both climbed over the fence and ran from the scene. So Dr. Carol Lieberman, for that friend.
So I grew up on 9 Mile and Eminem grew up on 8 Mile. I always think that's hilarious when I say that, squirrel.
Who is injected into this by Carly. What are your concerns for her as she has to somehow try to understand all this?
Well, to the extent that Carly told her friend what her plan was to kill her father, one has to wonder why the friend didn't call 911 or didn't run away before they both ran away together. Clearly the friend is going to probably feel some guilt. She's going to be traumatized. She's going to be angry at Carly for involving her. Carly was apparently just singing to her dogs before the friend came over. So on the one hand, she's telling the friend this is an emergency. On the other hand, she's acting like it's not an emergency. She's playing and singing to her dogs. But that friend is, of course, going to be incredibly traumatized by all of this.
And James, an important witness, right? There's video evidence of this, but now she is there for this second shooting.
Yeah, apparently so. I'll be honest, I didn't know that before, so that was a good piece of information to bring out. One thing she said, though, about how detached she was, she's just singing. The first time I saw her in court, it was at her preliminary hearing.
I think I have.
She comes in there before the hearing starts. She's sitting in the jury box where they seat all the inmates for such proceedings. And I'm sitting there with my kid.
When I lived around that area, I pawned a few things at some jewelry places when I needed to make some money. So I'm sure I have.
Camera taking pictures, and I get a couple of pictures of her. Then she realizes I'm taking pictures of her. So you would think she just looked straight ahead, just have, no expression on her face. No, she looked at me. You've shown the picture on your website before, looks straight at me and starts posing for the camera. I couldn't believe it. You got to be kidding me. A 14-year-old murder suspect, does she think this is a game? There was like an element of detachment since the beginning of this that's been my thought about her. There's something that's just not clicking.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, what do you think of that? Playing to James's camera inside the courtroom for her big moment of fame or infamy, however you want to term
it.
Looks like a teacher. What does that tell you?
Yes, she wants to be famous for this. She wants, there's obviously some big grudge against her mother, something that has made it worth it for her to kill her. And you could go back and think possibly it started with the divorce. Possibly she didn't want to go with her mother. She wanted to go with her father. Perhaps she blames her mother for the divorce altogether. Perhaps her mother was dating the man who became her stepfather. Something that she blames her mother for the divorce for. Then also, the mother came to the school and she became the most popular teacher. And that took away some of the attention from Carly, who was the big, brilliant student and so on. I think that she resented her for that. Perhaps there was some sexual abuse by the stepfather, and she was feeling angry at the mother for not protecting her. There could be a number of reasons like that. But I think that she's proud of the fact that she killed her, whether to show her friend or to show the camera.
Right. And at this point, our guests are going to stay with us. And at this point, It's still not clear what was going on in the house, and there's no evidence of sexual assault or anything, but I think that's a big part of this story. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as.
But all wasn't right with Carly, who allegedly walked into her mom's bedroom and shot her to death, and then invited a friend over to see her mom's dead body. Carly also allegedly shot her stepfather, who miraculously survived. And now Carly is in.
So let's keep going. How long have I been doing? Yeah, let's keep moving on because I've got a lot more to show tonight. I like this psychologist, Dr. Barry, and so she has been offered a plea deal and she has refused it. She's taking it to trial. She is being charged as an adult. She's being held in an adult prison. And this psychologist is going to discuss Carly Gregg and her insanity defense.
She's being held on a very, very high bond. And this all happened down in Mississippi. And it is a very, very tragic case. They did do a competency hearing to see if she was competent to stand trial. And she was evaluated. And both the defense expert and the prosecution expert both said that, yes, she was competent to stand trial. She knew who she was. She knew who the judge was. She was stable enough because her attorneys are going with an insanity defense, that in that moment that she was insane, and by the legal standards. And within a legal standard, you can have a mental health diagnosis and still be found guilty of a crime. What the insanity defense does is, if somebody is so psychotic that they don't even realize that what they're doing is wrong, they don't realize that and often the examples of that you see, it's very rarely successful. So it only happens in a small amount of cases, and it's rarely successful.
Rarely.
Tomorrow, or we'll see.
I mean, she had to have known there was some, like, that's the huge thing. If they run at all, there's some proof of, like, you knew what you were doing was wrong. So, yeah.
We'll see what day, but later, it'll either be tomorrow or possibly Sunday. I have so much stuff to cover because out in, I believe it was Las Vegas, they have a guilty but mentally ill designation where an individual can get mental health treatment first and then serve the rest of their sentence in a jail once they've received adequate, like, mental health treatment. And that was something that I hadn't really heard of before. So guilty but medically ill. She's going for an insanity defense. And with that defense, if you're found guilty, you go to a hospital where they try to restore, like, where they do treatment. Often it's for 5, 10, 20, 30. It can be for the rest of a person's life, or it could potentially be like 2 years, 5 years. There's really no minimum, but there are hearings to determine if the hospital and the attorneys, and the judge, if everybody agrees that the person should be released on a conditional release, where maybe they have to check in, they have to be on their medication. There are different options that are available if somebody does have that. Let me see if I can make myself smaller. Let's see. Psychiatrist be appointed, because there was a forensic psychologist.
That's another thing. They are talking about her psych meds were changed just prior to this happening. So she might have something. I don't know. I mean, because kids, you have to be so careful with psych meds with them, because it can go wrong really fast with children.
To that testimony, because I do have that queued up. Because and I have all of the videos that I'm sharing and the article linked down in the description. Here we go. Let's do, y'all know I like 1.25 speed. Closed captionings are not available on this video. If you're watching live, YouTube loads them later. So if you need closed captioning, probably normally within a period of time, YouTube adds them. But this is the psychologist. So let's listen to a little bit of this. Ooh, that's loud for me. Let me see if I can turn
I
that
might have
down.
to slow
Okay.
it down if she's speeding it
Y'all
up.
let me know how that sounds on your end. There's a lot of background. I can't trust.
You swear we're talking about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do.
And it's gonna get funny sometimes, but that's on like the end of it's not on my end. Something happens with this video.
Yes, I do.
This woman, I will, of course, ask 3 questions, and I'll turn it over to the state, then I'll let the defense ask me a question. Any objection to that by the state?
Nothing say that.
By the defense. There you go. Dr. Guglielmo, why did you not perform an analysis?
I started interviewing Ms. Gregg regarding an analysis, but we had been meeting for about 5 hours at that point, and there was a person sitting in the room next to us who we could hear, so I'm assuming that they could also potentially overhear us speaking. And so we stopped at that point, and I was going to reschedule. In working on my competency report and reviewing records that I had received, I believe on 2 days prior to my interview of Ms. Gregg, it seems that medications are going to be relevant to her mental state at the time of the alleged offenses. As a psychologist, I do not have expertise in medications or the potential side effects or impact that medications could have on someone's mental functioning. Therefore, I let Ms. Newman know that I thought it would be better to have a forensic psychiatrist perform the evaluation because they would be able to fully answer the question.
Turn the witness over to the state.
Dr. Guglielmo, you were ordered to evaluate the patient. What records did you receive from the defense attorneys prior to?
The defense attorneys provided me with Magnolia counseling records from an individual therapy that she was receiving.
And there was no prescriptions anywhere in those records, correct?
No.
Did they provide any additional records showing the prescription medication that the defendant was on?
No, they did not.
And so we provided those when we received them on August the 8th. Was that the first time that you were talking about the use of any antidepressants for medication?
Actually, let me.
They also had a hearing to see if the case would be televised, and obviously it is being televised.
The counseling records did refer to Ms. Gregg being prescribed medication from Precise Neuroscience Center, I believe, or clinic. But
So I just want to clarify for a forensic psychological evaluation, one session, 5 hours, but that's where you're sometimes talking to the person for about 2 hours. And then you might do testing. So you might do intelligence testing, personality testing. And so they probably ended it at 5 hours because that would be long for just one session. If you've ever had a neuropsychological evaluation, they're often longer. Neuropsychological evaluations can be like 9 to 11 hours, but it's normally over 2 to 3 days. And often with these forensic evaluations, they go more than just one day. All right.
I had not received those records yet, and so I wasn't for sure how accurate the records were that the counselor noted. I'm assuming that she was told about the prescriptions from Ms. Gregg, but I cannot say that for sure.
And as of this date, you still don't have any pharmacy records, is that right?
I do not.
And based off of what you told the judge.
The defense has been asked to turn this stuff over. So the state thinks the defense has this stuff and they haven't turned things over yet. The judge is going to get mad at the defense later. I don't know if we're going to have time for that, but
now that you know there were antidepressants that were prescribed, is it your testimony that you do not think that you would be able to complete the insanity portion of the evaluation?
It's not just that she had antidepressant medication prescribed. It's based on the brief amount that we talked about what was going on with Ms. Gregg around the time of the alleged offenses and the months leading up to them. Her medications were switched, and so there may be a question of withdrawal from medications and how those may have interacted. So it's the fact that side effects or withdrawal symptoms from the medication could be relevant to mental state. That is my opinion, why I'm not the best expert to do that type of evaluation.
And as you sit here today, you can't say, Dr. Guglielmo, whether or not there were any
To me,
withdrawals.
the defense makes her look younger than what she really is. I don't know if she would normally dress this way. I'm not sure. But to
I've looked at a
me,
lot
they
of
portray
photos of her during this time, and she looks way younger in court than she does in some of her photos. So they for sure are dressing her young.
her as very like childlike and as young. So like normally she's wearing something like a collar like that. And because she's 15 now. So
But are
here
they going to parade her in front of the jury day after day in this schoolgirl outfit? I mean, this is what I find interesting. It's like the same outfit over and over.
and here in this, she is 15 years old. And this might just be how she dresses normally.
Or that could actually be an issue.
No, I cannot. That's outside of my scope of expertise.
No other questions.
Other questions? No question. Is there somebody that's
Because she's currently incarcerated and normally is wearing, I think, like a yellow jumpsuit. Like she's normally wearing jail clothes.
So I understand that they're school uniforms, but like, is she wearing that all day in jail too? It's just very interesting to me.
whose area of expertise is that line with them?
It would be a forensic psychiatrist, in my opinion, because they have both the medical training and the forensic training to complete the evaluation.
I understand you no longer work at the state hospital.
I do still work at the state hospital, but I also do private work.
Is there somebody at the state hospital that does, that would be qualified? Oh,
Dr. McMichael, who's the service chief, is a forensic psychiatrist. However, he has some medical issues going on right now, and he would not be available.
So they're not able to have. I do want to share a different picture because there are other pictures of her when her hair is longer. Because to me, she's younger here, but she looks older to me in this picture than with her hair shorter. She comes across as looking younger in these pictures. It's my understanding that she's very intelligent, very, very intelligent. And she was a straight A student. Her mother worked at her school. And there is just some question.
So they are talking about she had just switched her medication. And so there was this exam, this competency hearing. And then they did offer her a plea deal and she's turned it down. And she is so far going to go. So let's keep going. Here, I wanted us to take a quick peek at should Carly Gregg, accused of unaliving her mom, remain in adult jail. She's okay. So she's 15 now. Do you think a 15-year-old should be in an adult jail? What do you guys think?
Light on the case of Carly Gregg. She's accused of allegedly murdering her mother and attempting to murder her stepfather when she was only 14 years old. This is her. Take a look at her. She's now 15, and she was seen in court on Tuesday waving to somebody from her seat in that courtroom in Mississippi where she's facing these horrific charges. Now, this hearing was all about determining whether Carly Gregg should remain in adult jail. At the hearing, the judge admonished her defense attorney for not having arranged her court-ordered mental health evaluation.
My patient's going to be a little sitting in the yellow jumpsuit, so.
Thin, Mr. Coleman. The order says 10 business days from the date of the order. April the 18th was when the order was entered. So we've run out of 10 business days since the entry of the order. And this is obviously a most serious event. And while you certainly have a right to have a mental evaluation done, the state of Mississippi has a right to have the state hospital perform one as well. And I'm not going to allow you to obstruct that process. I'm not accusing you of obstructing. I'm just telling you right now we have non-compliance with my orders. All right?
It's an order. It's not an option. Carly Gregg's going to be back in court in 2 weeks when the judge will hear two different motions from her defense team. One of them asking for her $1 million bond to be lowered, and the other one to exclude the public and the media from any pre-trial.
Neither one of those went through. So let me see what you guys are saying. If you think, I think I meant 18. As a mother of a 15-year-old, I could not imagine my baby in an adult jail. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not for charging children as adults either. I'm just not for that. If they can't vote, legally as an adult, then I don't believe we need to charge them legally as adults. But that's just my personal thoughts on it. Okay,
as an
so
adult after taking her mother's life and attempting to take her stepfather's life. This 14-year-old is Carly Madison Gregg, and this case is out of Rankin County, Mississippi. This was Ashley Smiley, Carly's mother. She was an algebra teacher at Northwest Rankin High School in Rankin, Mississippi. It was Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, when this woman's husband came home and found her no longer alive. It was then that Carly also used this to injure her stepfather. Luckily, her stepfather was able to stop her, and then Carly ran away. As I said, Carly is being charged as an adult. She has been charged with murder and attempted murder for what she did to her mother and her stepfather. She was in court yesterday and pled not guilty. She's being held on a $1 million bond. Not much else has come out about this case so far. I have not seen anything mentioned about a possible motive. I'm sure there are a lot of us who...
yeah, that's the thing. I have not saw too many possible motives. I mean, except for people saying that her mom was taking her shine and that, you know, her mom took something from her. But to me, it seems like with Gypsy Rose and other, it just seems, to me, it seems like Gypsy is making it look really appealing to younger people that this could be a viable way to get rid of your parents.
It's been a bad day. How I wish that I could just cry myself away. It's been a bad day. How I wish that I could sprout wings and fly away, away, away. The rain starts to fall and it stays for a while, but then the clouds roll away. The sun creeps around and it paints an awful glow on this place.